Yo, what is up, everybody? This is Ken, the Hustle Be with Cello Club podcast, and let's drop that beat. Yo, what is up? How are you guys?
Good. It's hot.
Pretty
It's
good.
summer. But
Officially summer.
are the sales heating up though? That's the real
Oh.
question.
I have to say, definitely.
What? From one podcast to the next,
Yes,
they're
it
definitely
feels
improving.
So good.
Why?
It feels
What did you
so
do?
good. The changes I made is working.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's helpful.
Because remember, like, when I said, like, we were listing a lot, and I was like,
Yeah.
why is it not? And it's just, like, starting to hit, and then...
Oh, right. Like it hadn't really caught up yet. Yeah,
right.
I
It
remember
hasn't
that.
cycled. And also, for some reason, I've always had, like, a 5% promotion. And, you know, like...
ad spend?
Ads, yeah, right? And
Yeah.
and 5%, like, well, promoted listing, right, I guess.
Right.
And then for some reason, I've always kind of just like created a new listing or created a new campaign. So I was like, there's so many campaigns here. Deleted all of that and then created a rule base. This is something the first time I've used.
Oh,
So-
really? See, that's how I always do it. I figured that's how you do it.
Well, when I started doing it, that feature wasn't there yet.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I've always just kind of like
stuck
copied
to
it,
your
right?
ways,
So you can
yeah.
always copy it, always do it the way you do. So now, well, to anybody that's old school like me that don't know, now you will know that there is a rule-based promotion. So when I set this up, it was easier on the setup because you don't have to like click all the listings that you want to add onto that campaign.
Right.
You just say like, what's the rule? My rule was anything under $300 I promoted listings for 5%, right? What I didn't realize after I created that, okay, we put everything, then every listing that you put in that's under $300 gets put on that campaign. Genius.
Yeah, it gets automatically included whenever it
Yeah, I'm
meets all the
like,
parameters. Yeah.
that's when I was, that's when you never settle,
Genius.
baby. That's when you
That is so
never
funny to me
settle.
because you are such like an ads user and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
lover and / kind of
Yeah,
expert, and
yeah.
you just didn't realize that one little
Yeah.
nuance. Isn't that the greatest though when you learn something that
I
like
know.
unlocks
Yeah,
it for you?
Yeah, and it's
I
like,
love it.
it's and also too, I was in a mode where I need to change something because the red's getting redder.
Sunburn, like a sunburn in the summer.
Yeah.
So I had to find some
That's
green
funny.
grass. So I did. And then well, this week if we're gonna continue this surge, we're gonna be end up in a really good week. So
Summer surge
that's
after
my
all.
that's my update. So
That's
I'm
great.
sorry to for all the haters out there. I'm sorry for ruining your celebration.
Sorry you
that-
gotta see me
that
win
summer's
again.
real. Summer's slow down ain't real. Just want to tell you that.
That's funny.
So I did have 5 days in a row of just trash. It's like sales,
Oh.
and so I think my highest out of the trash day sales was like $200 to $300.
Ooh.
My
Well,
lowest
one man's trash
was-
is another man's treasure. I'll just
That's
tell
true.
you
That's
that.
true. But my lowest day was $81. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sub $100 days are
Yeah.
bummers.
Someone. Come on now. But the last 2 days they've been good.
Good.
So I can't. Yeah, one 500, the other one 1100. So
That is
Oh.
interesting. Like when there's a little like lull like that. It's not maybe a whole week, but yeah, just kind of a little
Yeah.
cluster of days where it's like, what is going on here?
Yeah, but it
But-
makes you panic. Like I mean, even you probably don't panic like you used to, Glenn, but it
yeah,
still doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
Like
it
I'm
doesn't
doing the same
feel
thing
right.
every day, and it was like,
Yeah.
what happened?
yeah, exactly.
I think it's interesting though to take note of A, the fact that those do happen, and B, maybe the context in which they happen to some degree. Like, this is the beginning of summer. A lot of
Yeah.
people are hitting their vacations right at
For
the
sure.
beginning, as soon as they are, done with school or whatever. And I don't know, it's like it's a transitional time. So I feel like those little blips are like more likely to happen during those times. I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this same thing happens between Christmas and New Year's, where it might be like amazing one
Yeah.
day and then be like 0 the next day. Like
Yeah.
I think those transitional times are like
I
the
think
most
all the
notorious for
dads
that.
are out there buying mulch and
Oh, they're
spending
way
money
late
on.
to the game. They're buying mulch now. Come
Oh
on.
well,
That was
sorry,
March. Come on.
sorry.
March mulch.
March
That's what it
mulch.
is. Is that what it is?
I don't know.
I
No.
don't know.
Well. Also, you
I was
have to
like, I don't
think.
know.
Don't let Glenn answer this. He's not that so.
Yeah. Yes,
Don't listen to
yes.
him about mulch.
Did you know that Glenn has turf, fake turf?
I think I did know that
Okay,
actually.
yeah. It's
So
like
not mulch, in other
it's
words.
so cool because like this guy, like
No need.
like one time he shared his story his backyard. I was like, man, that's green, and like mine's like dying. And I asked him, I had to
It's
ask
like,
him.
yeah, it's plastic. Or whatever.
Yeah,
Is it plastic? I don't know. I assume it is
yeah,
some
it's
kind of
basically.
plastic.
It's
The bad thing
basically.
is we get so much dirt and like sand and like wind that it
Yeah.
just gets stuck in there too. Like
So
in
how
the
Yeah.
do you
turf.
clean it? Like, do
Do
you
you
have
have
to
to
like
vacuum
wash
it?
it
Yeah,
or
you have to kind of like blow it with the blowers, or you can also kind of like,
sweep it or something?
yeah, sweep it too, or
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of sucks, but when it's
Oh.
really stuck in there, at
Yeah,
least.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
keep on top of
Can
things.
you wash it with water? No,
Yeah, I think you can. I think
I
but you
mean
haven't.
no.
it can
Uh,
like rain, like
Yeah, it
yeah,
can
but it
rain.
never rains.
Yeah,
it's got
that's
to
another issue.
sometimes.
um.
But I mean,
So
our topic today is a Hustler Hacks or OG original
yeah,
topic to
Nice.
where
yeah.
An OT.
Nobody knows.
nobody knows, but it
Mm.
does lead from how Ken said going into like the scary sales. You know what I mean? That's where I
Mhm.
wanted to lead this episode. So,
Mm.
this episode is top 10 scariest parts of being a full time eBay
Mm.
seller.
Mhm.
So very, very scary episode. Some would say spooky, even
Yeah.
eerie,
Creepy.
creepy, definitely
Yeah.
sinister.
Ooh,
Oh.
Oh
insidious.
no,
Wow! Using big words.
I
Come on.
know.
Proud.
Ghostly.
Ghostly. That's what it is. Ghostly with the man. I can't see him.
I know. Okay, so here we go. Top 10 scariest parts of being a full time eBay seller. And actually, number one is inconsistent income,
Mm.
which, for an example, they're saying like some months you might be making 3,000, 5,000, 500. What happens? What's the deep decline? Why? So you have to
Mhm.
figure that out as the business owner. But inconsistent income is number one. And I think that if you have things in play, I don't think you should see that much of a deep, deep decline. You know what I mean? Like, I only made $200 this month.
Yeah.
When I usually make 5 grand a month or
Oh,
something. Like,
that's a big decline though.
yeah, that's a huge decline. So I don't really see it like that. It's
Yeah.
kind of interesting too on the whatnot side. There was some guys talking about like tips on selling on whatnot,
Yeah.
and they were saying how like if you start things at $1, things can be very inconsistent. Like you
Mhm.
don't know what it's
Right.
gonna
Right. Right.
sell for one show to the next. The
Mhm.
funny part is I've done the dollar auctions and they've been pretty consistent for the last I don't know like
You're still go-
years,
yeah.
I guess. So I think
Yeah.
that when you have
Yeah.
systems in play,
Right.
let's
Right.
say
Right.
whether it's eBay or whatever you're selling on, I think that you'll be fine as long as you're consistent.
Yeah, and also too on the whatnot side, you have a stop loss procedure that you have
Mm-hmm.
created, right? Like you figure out that after X amount of time, the price decrease or the sale lowers. So now you have figured, okay, whatever it is, anything over $100, I'm making 10% less, or anything over 100 items, I'm making 10% less.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I show this item more than 5 times, then the value goes down. So
Yeah.
like those are the advantages of whatnot because there's really no comps. So it's up to you to kind of like create your own comps, right? If it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the strategy I've always done is if it's hitting for good money, you gotta back to back it. you know?
Yeah.
And if it's not hitting for good money, hide that thing for a while.
Hide it for a while.
So that's kind of like my take on that. But I don't think inconsistency is a bad thing.
Mm.
Because if you
Okay.
look at it on the downside, yes, but there are other times that it's upside
Yeah,
that
no one's complaining about it on the
yeah,
upside.
nobody's
They're like
complaining.
a
It's like,
bonus.
oh man,
Yeah.
my month just went up inconsistently.
Right. We don't tend to call it that when it's
Yeah.
going well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I did great. I did
Yeah.
great. Like credits to me, right? But when it's down, it's like, oh, something's wrong with eBay.
Yeah. What came to my mind when you said the name of this first scary thing is like inconsistent income in spite of consistent activity. Like,
Yeah,
I
Mm,
think that's when it gets scary. And obviously, on the downside of it, right? When you're like, but I'm doing the same thing
yeah,
and I'm doing the same thing that's worked, that's based on data, that's based on comps, that's, been optimized and I'm being efficient and somehow my income's going down. Like, or I can't rely on it from month to month. But I do think from the perspective of like full-time seller, there's also like generally like I feel like my store pushed these limits over the last couple of years when my overall sales have been kind of more down because of all the transition of moving and downsizing my store and all this different stuff that was going on that kind of all worked together. But like right now, kind of like you were saying earlier, okay, I might have an inconsistent amount of income from one month to the next, but it's not going to be like 10,000 one month and 200 the next month.
right. Yeah,
Like there's
it's not
like
drastic.
there's
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
range that's
yeah.
like
There's a range. Yeah,
relatively consistent,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
The exact amount's not consistent, but I kind of know what to expect, right?
Yeah.
Even if my activity does vary a little bit, it's still going to fall within that normal range. Probably not going to, drop down to 10 or 20% of what I made the last month. Like it's just not going to happen that drastically, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be more gradual.
So
So,
inconsistency is not a bad thing
not always, yeah.
as long as your input is consistent.
Yeah. Cuz even it
Consistently right and doing best practices. Because some
right.
people do consistent wrong things.
Yeah, right.
I'm like,
Which
dude, you're selling the wrong item over and over and over again,
yeah.
and you're trying to have
Well, and
positive income.
like in your real life current example, Ken, it's like, okay, you're listing, you listed a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
That was the right thing to
yeah,
do, and you consistently know how to do that well, item over item and month over month. But obviously it ebbs and flows on a daily or weekly
hmm,
basis. So now you're seeing like the fruits of that. You know that if you put that effort in, like it will shake out.
right.
It might be a little bit varied when it shakes out exactly, but it will.
I agree. I agree.
All right, number 2, which is questionable health insurance, time off, and retirement plan.
Questionable as in non-existent.
Yeah, you mean non-existing?
Questionable, like
Where?
is it there?
Where is it?
Yeah,
at?
where is that?
You need to find it somehow.
Huh.
Health insurance number 1 sucks, which we already know. I mean, I've been going through this with
Which
the
we already
family.
know.
This is like, oh,
Yeah.
it's just getting worse and worse.
It's
Paid time off, well,
What's that?
yeah.
more like if you if you get time off, you're not getting paid at all.
And then retirement plan. Well, retirement plan is kind of funny because, I mean, my parents are still working. They're trying to retire, and
Mm,
that's not going down anytime soon. My father-in-law and mother-in-law are retired, but even then, in retirement, they're still finding other ways to see like what other monies to make. So you're not
right,
really
right.
like completely done with working. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
are, but there's a lot of people that still go work at Walmart or go work a
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
part-time job somewhere.
Hmm.
They also threw in there as far as like getting sick and or injured. How do you find that time or someone to, I guess, back you up in a way?
You
Yeah.
don't. You don't.
Right. You can, but it takes a lot
Um.
of
So let's hear from our
planning.
pros. Anna, what about Anna first this time?
Anna first. Anna first. She's pretty well versed with retirement because she's well planned.
I mean, I have goals for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, one thing I'll say, it is a scary prospect. So for me in my personal situation, like my husband does have a W-2 job, so I have health insurance through his job.
Very
But
nice.
but if he ever wanted to go full time, double down on the eBay store with me, then we would be right back in that same boat. But I do think like this is a little bit simplistic. Like there's absolutely no denying that these are huge hurdles for anybody
Mhm.
who's like a full-time business owner, like eBay store or otherwise, right? Where you have to provide all of these benefits for yourself. And it's really the system is not set up for that. Like it
Yeah.
is not easy to compensate yourself with those things. But I do think on in kind of from a different perspective, like we all probably need healthcare, at some point, even if we're
Right.
very healthy and rarely need to visit the doctor or have anything happen, that requires a procedure or whatever. But hopefully, with some of your freedom and flexibility that you have running a business, you're taking care of your body. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one thing that I see people take kind of for granted a lot when they have like health insurance or even like a gym membership or anything like to take care of their physical well-being that's like built into their benefits at their job, and they're like, oh, it's cool, I have health insurance, so I'll just like work myself into the ground and like
Mm.
completely burn
Yeah.
out and get sick. And it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, well, it would be better maybe if you could
You don't. Yeah.
actually take your time enough in your life to like take care of yourself. And like it's hard, like you work really hard as a business owner or as an employee of someone else's business, like either way, people work themselves too hard. But I do think that's maybe one thing to consider if this is a scary thing for you. Like at least you can do something about the flexibility and the wherewithal to
Right.
kind of like maintain your body maybe better than a lot of people who are in a corporate job situation, just because you can, like you're
Yeah.
your own
Yeah.
boss and you make the rules about how you're going to allocate your resources and your time to take care of yourself. So obviously that's not a magic wand. Like we all have unforeseen things that we have to deal with, and healthcare is expensive, so that's a tough one. But it's kind of the same for like retirement planning too. Like you can open, a business owner like IRA type of situation. You can save for retirement in really similar ways to people who have like a 401k through their
Hmm.
job. But again, it's not something that a lot of people just know about. Like
Right.
you have to educate yourself about it. You have to figure out, how to basically do it yourself. But it's available. So a lot of people probably don't know that, and when you're running a business too, it's like so much of your time and attention is on the business, and it's hard to like learn another thing, right? Have another learning curve and make sure you're setting yourself up and setting some stuff aside for the future. But what were the other ones? It was healthcare, retirement. Oh, paid time off. Haha.
Yeah, or getting
That's
sick, getting injured,
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
things like
Which
that.
yeah, same thing. It's like I mean, my husband could probably do most of what I do pretty easily in my business because he's the most familiar with it. But I don't really have a good plan for that. Like I don't have a written manual of how to do every single thing to run my store
Right.
that I could hand to a stranger and say
Yeah.
like, "Here, you take over today."
Yeah.
So, obviously it depends on the situation, but it would be a difficult transition if I could like, even for short term, even for 2 months, it'd probably be the easiest thing to just turn my store off, right? If it
Yeah.
was like a short term thing.
Hmm.
But and if it's a long term thing, like I don't know. Like that would potentially have to be someone else's problem to figure out, which is not a great thought, honestly.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a good idea to plan for that stuff.
Kenny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I could add to that on that last part, that's the main reason why me and JC are basically quote unquote trained to do each other's job.
Yeah.
Um
Cross trained.
yeah, and right, like that's kind of like I learned that from, from school. Cross training is important. So employees could, fulfill each other's roles. Um and that's what I always say, like, like, cuz you can't really like not think about worst case scenario. And my always thinks like worst case scenario, if I'm not here, you can run it just the way I would, probably even better, and vice versa. Um, it suck. It might suck for a while because you're not familiar with it, but you're familiar with it enough. So that's one. I think that's always kind of like a good, um, like find somebody that you trust with your life to at least know the process. Kind of like what Anna said, that John is familiar enough.
Step
Um,
1, find somebody to trust with your life.
yeah.
Just period.
And then the concept of retirement is not a thing for me. I I never heard the word retirement until I moved here to America. So I refuse. I'm an American citizen now and everything like that. I've lived here for a while. I love McDonald's. I love ice cream. I'm American through and through. Um, I love custard. I
I
love
really want to make a joke about how
pies.
the ice cream machine's always broken at McDonald's, but
No, no, no. There's other ice cream places that are way better.
there's yeah.
Um,
Amen.
but I that's one thing I refuse to embrace, the concept of retirement. Um, and I've always said it. It's an older model when everybody it was in the industrial age where everybody was factory workers and
Mm.
replaceable, and you give your life for 40 years and we exchange you for 25 years of comfort or something like that, right? You buy your Corvette when
Yeah.
after you retire. That's kind of like the model, where you buy an RV and you go see the world, for 3 or 4 years before you can't walk anymore. So
I
I refuse.
know.
Yeah, I can't. I refuse to do that. So that's why the I'd rather struggle now to truly find the things I want to do. That way, I don't have to retire from the life that I'm living.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how I see it.
I
And I
like
said,
yeah, I like that take.
worst case scenario, I'll get a group of people. It's like, hey, let's buy an island in the Philippines. Like I said, $100,000. We'll get an island, and
A group of people, Glenn.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
hear
And,
that?
we
A
we
group.
we we like that's why I'm cheering Anna on for gardening. Worst case scenario, we can
My garden is
garden of
popping,
right. That's what I'm
okay?
saying,
It is
right? Like,
popping.
yeah, Glenn can consistently
Clean
put
the
on the
turf.
fire. Yeah, I can put on the
He
fire,
can
right?
he can clean the turf. There's not gonna be turf.
He
Are you
can
kidding
clean
me?
the turf. That he can get water or something like that. So I can cook. I can
Glenn
cook.
is still
So
just gonna be buying hats. He's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
We'd be
The island
slinging
is
some.
actually made of hats.
Yeah, we'd be slinging some
Mounted hats.
woven hats. You know what I'm saying?
Woven
Like,
hats.
Yeah,
yeah,
like a straw hat.
you need that at the beach.
Yeah.
So
Well,
um
one of the things that people get, I guess, like, well, eBay sellers, but they get asked, I guess, is like, what is the end goal? Like, if there's no retirement, how do you
Yeah.
get out of being an eBay seller full time?
Yeah, I mean,
hmm,
I feel I feel similar to Ken about work, like knowing myself. Like I don't really intend to ever not be working, but I would love for it to be optional.
right.
like,
Yeah.
That's true.
and it's like I think that's really truly how I think of it. Like at what point will it be optional because I have earned enough money to have other investments that will give me enough
Mm,
passive income where I don't have to like work for a specific dollar amount. And that number one, inconsistent income becomes less scary because that income would all be gravy, right? But
yeah.
I do think like kind of what is your life's work, or if you are going to retire as in like close the chapter. I mean, you could technically say I retired from my first career, when I was 29 like, but I didn't really retire. It's like I closed the chapter on that and I shifted to something else, and I'm
Yep.
still like a productive working person because that's just what I like to do and who I am, and I have to at this point to afford my life, right? Like most of us. So it's like I wouldn't. I mean, even if I was 60 or 70 years old, I don't know if I'd consider it a retirement. It's like I
Yeah.
would maybe shift to something else, but it's about how much do you depend on like that income,
Yeah.
so that you feel like you have to keep doing something whether
And
you want to or not.
I think, and Glenn could probably add on to this. I think a lot of it too is like the feeling of needing to have money or income
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
is so fake, because it is the fact that you bought in the quote unquote status quo that you gotta have this, this, and this. And
Yeah.
Right.
when you gotta have the house, you gotta have the nice car, you gotta have brand new this, brand new that. And if you bought into that, you're gonna feel like you have to have income. I mean, it's not feel; it's a fact that you have to have income to pay off those X amount of things.
Right.
Debts
And
that you owe as well. That
right, right. I think, and and I've always said, yes, I'm teeter tottering on like, yeah, I don't need it, but sometimes I like nice things, so I'll just work for it and I'll exchange X amount of time of my life and I get to do it. And that's the only thing why I hate healthcare, because that's a sports car payment. That's why I don't have
Yeah.
a sports car, because I
Yeah.
have a health payment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but that's kind of like what it is. And for me, eventually, my goal is to ultimately wean off myself of the need for stuff. And when I get rid of that, truly, I don't need an income. I mean, literally, like, you can make ends meet way easier. Because I can look back when I was in my apartment, my monthly expense was so low. And
Yeah.
imagine if I had the inventory that I have right now with the
Yeah.
expense of the apartment that I had, I'd feel so rich. And I feel like that's what I wanna get to in the ultimately at the end of this, Glen, right? Like, I want my store to get so big and my expenses get so small, that way having to make that money monthly doesn't, it's disproportionately advantageous for me. So what's your take on that, because you have kind of like paid off one of the biggest debt on a lot of people.
I paid off all the debts, and then I have a child. So we didn't talk about any kid stuff, which we'll definitely add on
Yeah,
to your.
a kid's add on, but I
Yeah,
feel like that's not a debt. Like, you are
That's
I
not a
feel like
debt.
I feel like
It's an
uh,
expense.
it's an
it's an
expense.
expense, but I feel like it's a replacement expense. Put it this way:
What do you
if
mean?
I wanted to buy nice clothes for me, and if I had a kid, I wouldn't buy stuff for me. It's just a replacement
Mm.
expense,
Mm.
So
right?
if you're already buying yourself nice clothes,
Right. Like, for example, like Glenn, like, he was a sneakerhead before, buy new shoes here and there. Now he just doesn't, because that money just went to the kid.
Mm.
So that's kind of just like relative.
can you
That's how I
confirm that?
see it.
I
But
already,
you
I
just have
already
to do it
know.
18 years.
Well, I already know what if Ken wants to get out, or even if I want to get out of whatever we're selling on eBay. We build up the store big as possible. We
Mm-hmm.
try to get to like 1 million store value,
Yeah.
and then you just tell Sneakers Envy, "Hey, 500,000 for this. Take it for half, and here it is.
Yeah.
So we're
Make
all
all
just
your
banking
money."
on Jim at this point.
Yeah,
Jim buying
Jim's
us
down to do
out.
it too. He'll do it now.
exactly,
He'll do it tomorrow. He'll do it next
Oh
week.
my gosh.
exactly. You find
Yeah.
that eBay seller
That's
that
hilarious.
Yeah. That wants to double up their store.
exact.
I talked to someone at eBay one time about that, about like, what if you wanted to sell your entire inventory to another seller? Could they
Mm.
import your store into their store somehow? And like, currently that's not a capability, but I do think that's really interesting. I mean, eBay is about to be 30 years
I
old. So
think
there are
yeah,
people who
there
have
is
had
definitely a way that you can do it. Yeah.
lifelong careers of this, who
That'd
Yeah.
be
have
Yeah.
pretty
built a
fire.
brand and they've
Yeah.
built a buyer base and they've built, they've niched down and stuff.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
that's
Uh,
like you would sell
it's
any
like a
other
specialty
brand.
store, right? You you
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you sell a specialty online store
and a
already.
genius.
I'm just saying,
Genius.
I asked them
Yeah.
to figure it out, please. It
Here's
That's what
sounded
we
like
gotta
it
here's
was
what
do.
going
they
to
need
be
to
very
do.
complicated, but
Separate category on just eBay stores for sale.
yeah,
And then you
exactly.
try to find your niche and you just buy out your competition. Hey, I'll buy your store. It's already on there. And then import
Mm.
those listings. That is
Yeah.
fire.
So every time you have a $0 sales day, your store shows up on that stores for sale and you might entertain an offer for your whole structure over it
Yeah,
because you're
that's what it
mad.
is. eBay storesforsale.com, and it will go like it's kind of like a stock market, right? Like,
But
oh,
the
I just
thing
had a
would be,
$1,000 day. Like, oh, the valuation of my business just went up.
Went up.
yes. But like, imagine that if you could literally transfer your listings, like with the current watchers and the history and everything, to someone
Oh yeah,
else's
you can't.
store.
It will have to reset
Right.
basically. The
Right.
the API backend can import everything besides the views, and it
Yeah.
becomes a new listing basically, right? It's a
Yeah.
import. It's a copy paste
Or
listing.
the
It's not.
valuation goes down because you sold like $2,000 worth of product that day, and then now you can't
Right.
replenish it
Oh.
Right.
because
Yeah, you didn't replenish it, right?
you're selling the
But what
store.
if, okay, what if, oh, also, I've got a fun thing to tell you guys off the air that we cannot share with listeners yet, but remind me
Okay.
to tell you when we're done recording this. But anyway, this is not that. This is something else. But what if it just in our fantasy land of being able to sell your whole store, what if it was like, instead of a dollar amount, it was like, okay, here's the value of my inventory, right? And here's the pennies on the dollar that you would pay. Like that's how the pricing worked. Just
Mm.
like, I think it'd be interesting if that's
It's
how
like
it was
it's
split.
like a stock market, right? Like,
Yeah.
huh?
Or you just put your business on auction.
You know what
7-day auction.
You know what's smarter?
That would be so terrifying.
Oh no! Let's do it on Whatnot.
Immediate payment or not?
This is what we need to do. We need to create a new account on Whatnot, and they're gonna give you like 30-day no fees, and you just sell everything in 30 days, and then you're out.
You're out. Done.
So if you had to do it today, that'd be a pretty good strategy.
Yeah. Whatnot's on my DMs. They want me to go back, and so I haven't responded yet.
I mean, tell them they're welcome to sponsor the podcast.
Oh.
I was kind of thinking too, like, what about all the stuff that I have listed? Like, if it hasn't sold on the free, what was it? Black Friday, they have no fees.
Yeah.
What about everything that I listed throughout the year that has not sold by Black Friday? You just sell it on that one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just clear out inventory so you have fresh inventory every year.
That'd be a super clean slate.
Yeah, that's fun, but that's not fun when you have to think that you have to replenish like 3,000, 4,000 items.
It's also not fun when you're thinking, I guess, like long term, because after that,
then you're like zero. Then your income. Talk about inconsistency. Just, and this is my thing. When I sell my eBay store, I'm just gonna get royalties.
Okay, there we go. Now it makes sense.
Let me like, okay, $500,000 store. I just want 30% of the sales. After 500,000, I only get 10%.
And then 5, and then you're out. You're out completely.
No, 10% is the bottom.
Oh, okay.
That's the
For the
royalty
other
for the
5.
brand.
Oh, okay. For the brand,
right?
I think it could
kind of
work.
like what the actors of Friends did. Did you know this? Fun fact: Friends.
Hey, we're friends.
Stipulated
we could do
that
this.
2% of the revenue of the show they get in perpetuity. Wow. Well, when they set this up, this was TV, right?
Yeah.
What happened is now they're on streaming platforms. So now I think like combined, the actors get 20 million a year.
Incredible.
Dang.
So smart. What a smart move.
So that's what we gotta do. We just gotta make our brand so big.
You gotta make a show, and then you have to hit 100 episodes.
Contract.
100 episodes.
You gotta make a show on the real life of eBay sellers, kind of like Kardashians.
Hey, maybe I'll change the name of my store from Anesthetic Miscellany to Anesthetic Perpetuity instead.
Yeah, even harder.
Even harder.
It's an extra syllable.
I don't even know where we can get to all 10 of these.
I know.
We'll split it.
We might have to do the other 5.
Okay, let's do 5 and 5. Yeah. Part 1 and part 2.
I like this conversation, though.
I like this.
Yeah. Okay, let's
go
to...
against it.
Here's the third one. Pressure to perform. You're the boss. You're the
internal
lister.
Or external?
Yeah, it could be both. You're the sourcer. You're the photographer. Your customer service. If you're not constantly producing or improving your eBay business, it can stagnate and or die.
Yeah.
Which is the scariest part of this whole thing. So pressure to perform, which I think is definitely a real thing. It's because another problem on YouTube and everywhere else is that there's ways to make passive income, and you're just chilling on the beach and
lies.
Everything's just there's no problems, and not only that, you have just like a 6-pack of abs. You don't even work out. I mean, you're just ripped.
Passive abs too. Gosh.
Everything is just passive.
Everything's just passive.
Yeah. And so I think that's one of the issues too. So when people see like your eBay side, you're like, damn, that's a lot of work. And it's like, well, work is work. I mean, you can love your work, which makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Or you can just pretend, which I think a lot of people do. And then that's where it's just gets harder and harder. But with eBay and with any business, you're going to have to constantly work at it. And you can't just have old products in general.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't matter if you're listing, if you have your own website, you got to continually add new items. If you have a storefront, people are going to come in, hey, what's new? Nothing. It's the same the last 3 months. I mean, that can't happen either. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
even if you look at, let's say, Starbucks or other, they have promotions going on. Hey, that's um, what is it called? Pumpkin spice time, and then you have
PSL.
the
Come
holiday
on.
time, and then you have they constantly have their own promotions and
Yeah,
time of the year
it's
drinks
so
and
in like the dining industry, it's called LTOs, limited time offers.
limited time
It's
offers.
the McRib, it's PSL.
McRib.
Yeah.
That sounds
Hmm.
nasty. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh,
It's gotta
McRib.
be, right?
So yeah, pressure to perform.
Hmm.
Kenny.
Um, I'm here to become a diamond, so I need it.
Sign me up for the pressure.
So,
That's what he
yeah, I
said.
noticed that if life, and this is take it as, if you know me, if life's too good, I don't like it. Um, it makes me soft. It makes me
Soft like
fat.
Charmin.
It makes me fat. It makes me slow. It makes me blah. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Um, I feel like there's got to be a strive for something, whether it's business, health, family, relationship. There has to be a strive, and trust me, I know that because there's been moments in my eBay career where it's been too good. Sales or everything's green. When everything's green, I know. I feel like that's a red flag for me. Everything's green, that's a red flag because it just breeds complacency. So I've never felt so good, recently until like the last 2 weeks because I was digging in trying to find a way to, you know, do different stuff in my eBay store and, like that's kind of like polar opposite for what people would do because like, oh, your sales are down, why you feel good? It's like, actually because now I actually had to buckle
Yeah.
myself in a seat, work for 4 5 6 hours on the laptop or on computer and find a way to tweak something, clearance something, and then now it's like, okay, now sales are back up, what's next? So that's always kind of, that's my take. Pressure is good. I see pressure is good.
I was just trying to look this up really quick and I couldn't find like the actual what the official version of this is, but I've heard this concept many times about how you we all need an optimal amount of challenge, right?
Hmm.
Like if it's not challenging enough, it's
You're
boring, we're
boring.
not
Yep.
pushing ourselves, we're not growing, right? If it's too challenging, it's really stressful or we literally can't do it and it's defeating or we won't try because it's too much, right? But I had read recently that the optimal challenge is something like 4% beyond our current skills. And so,
Mm.
like what you were just saying, it's like you sat down, you put in some hours on the laptop, you had to think outside the box, you had to take a survey of everything and figure out, like, what can I do here? But imagine if you had never looked at the eBay website before and you were sitting down trying to do that.
Yeah.
It would have been way more than 4% of a
Yeah.
challenge, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Be too
that was
hard.
that was probably just about right, where it was like, okay, this was a few points above what I'm used to doing. I have to do something different, so it inherently has like some challenge, but it's not so much pressure that it's crushing me. It's like
Hmm.
actually kind of exciting and invigorating and like motivating you, and then you feel really accomplished when you figure it out because it's actually like reachable. Right? It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can figure it out because it's based on the foundation that you already have. It's not like totally brand new challenge, it's just blindsiding you. So I think that that kind of pressure is really good for us. Um, but I do think like another side of this is that kind of like like you're saying, Glenn, all the hats, right? The day in, day out of like, now I have to handle this. Oh, there's a grumpy customer in my inbox. Oh, guess who gets to deal with that? Me.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. UPS overcharged me for postage after the fact. Well, who's got to go figure out if that's accurate and, appeal it and blah, blah. Oh, yeah, me. Like, it's like all the tasks you have to do. Plus, you have to stay on top of sourcing and shipping and the cyclical tasks of your business, obviously. But I do think that in spite of all that, like in my experience, I feel way less pressure relative to other types of work I've done in other settings of work because like there is pressure and there isn't pressure. Like what
Yeah.
I loved about one thing the scavenger life, Jay and Ryan on the scavenger life always used to talk about was like it's not passive income, but it's like deferred income. Like you
Mm,
like, and I literally put this to the test when I moved, and I didn't list anything new for almost a year, and I sold things for a year without
Mm.
listing new stuff. And it was like that was all income from effort I'd already put in. And so, I needed a lot of time in that year to get things moved and settled and get things back up and running like normal. And I was only able to do that because I'd already put in all that other work, you know? So it's a little bit of a time warp, but it's like, I mean, I was still the one doing all that work. So the pressure was on me in the past to have already gotten that work done, But in the present, when I was going through that, I was really grateful for it. And I didn't feel like there was a ton of pressure to try to do absolutely everything at once on top of a huge life transition because of the way that it's set up. It was set
mm.
up for me to benefit from that deferred income. And I do think passive income is great. Deferred income is the next best thing. So I love that. That to me takes a lot of the pressure off, at least in the short term.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we got two left before we get to part two, which will be our next episode. But unpredictable expenses from maybe IRS random things coming in as far as like doing tax stuff, broken equipment, and or let's say if you use your car to source and your car breaks
Mhm.
down, well you have an expense there. Or hey, I can't source today because
Hmm.
well I can't go anywhere. Maybe your phone broken or whatever you use to take photos. Maybe computer is down or whatever you use to list, anything like that. Unpredictable expenses in the business, and if you're not prepared for it, it can crush your cash flow in an instant.
Yes, it can.
Yep.
So, Kenny,
Um. Yeah, but the beauty of where we live is there's credit cards. There's other things that you can defer to. I think even at one point that if you get your car repaired, you can defer it for X amount of payments, 3 months, 6 months, something like that. So as long as you have cash flow coming in and your business is you're taking care of business, that's one of the things that I worry the least because there are multiple ways to finance in this country, which is way better than the country I was at before. So I
Who
see
shall
it as a
remain nameless?
yeah, and yeah. So I see it as a huge benefit, right? Like worst case scenario, if your car
Whose
breaks down,
island do you want to buy?
yeah, the island I want to buy, right? Like if your car breaks down, right? Worst case scenario, there's a reason why your car broke down because either one is it's just really old or it's put too much miles. So the person to blame is it's really you because you should have saw it ahead. Also, that's why for me, I paid a premium to get newer cars. That way, I don't get to those kinds of repairs. Um, so if you're on the other option that you keep your cars longer, you should expect those repairs. So Anna can add into that.
My car has 265,000 miles on
Yeah.
it. So I'm definitely in that camp. But I mean, you more or less have to budget for that all
Yep.
the same, right? Where if
Yeah.
possible, where it's like, okay, the lifespan of this car is gonna include
Hmm.
some serious maintenance and repairs and multiple sets of tires and whatever. Um, so yeah, but I think kind of like agree with what you're saying, Ken. Like most things, like yeah, okay, if you drop your phone in the toilet and you have to suddenly buy a new phone, like
Yeah,
that
you can
sucks.
get a monthly payment on your phone for $20.
You can. So and there are multiple ways, but I think just in general, like I try to keep tabs on, you know, obviously like there are different like credit cards I have used for my business, or like eBay has a great capital program.
Hmm.
There's, it's good to like at any moment have your
Options.
finger on the pulse of like if I
Mm.
had a $5,000 emergency in
Bill,
my
where can I
business,
get
do I
this?
and if I don't have the cash reserves for it, it'd probably be great if you did.
Start building it.
Yeah, start building it. And if you don't, like what are the levers you could relatively safely pull to like keep to kind of protect your cash
Yeah,
flow,
yeah,
right? Or to
yeah.
protect your business from a big expense. Because we do have a lot of things available. And I mean, I really love that eBay's seller capital program. I've used it. I've tried it out because for that exact reason, so that I
Yeah.
know, okay, if I have a good experience, and I did have a good experience with this program, if I ever needed it or I wanted to, do a huge inventory purchase or something and I wanted to use that as my way of funding it, would I be comfortable using this? Would it be easy?
Yeah.
So it's really good to know what your options are, even if you're not
Yeah, for
like,
for
I don't know, storing up
necessities,
a ton of
right?
cash.
For necessities, you always have options, I believe. Unless you've used up those options for unnecessary things. If
Yeah.
Glenn bought a Lambo and
Right.
then, his debt to income ratio is really lopsided now and then his Lambo broke
Yeah.
and then
Well, and that's the other thing. Like, don't live your life or run your business completely maxed out. Like,
yeah,
have some
just
room.
90%.
Just 90% maxed out. I did not endorse that part of the advice. I would just like to.
Sometimes 90, sometimes 75.
Glenn's like, you jokers, what are you doing?
Oh man,
Well,
Kenny
what do you
knows.
think
Kenny
about
knows.
that?
I mean, I do agree. And I think the debt to income ratio stuff and all of that comes into play. And I think well, Kenny also makes a good point too. I think there's always like that battle to where, hey, you only live once,
Yeah,
or I just want to like build up this savings, and
yeah.
Yeah.
then so
That is a constant battle, right?
yeah.
There's people that only live once. There's people that only die once. That's kind of like the YOLO. And then there's like the super conservative that you get to an age. Let's always say like at 65, I will never enjoy a sports car. I'd be in pain to get in and
In
out
and
of a
out of
sports
it,
car,
yeah.
right? And that's what people don't understand. Try to ride a sports car, exotic. Most older rich people don't because they can't, and it's so hard, it's so bumpy, it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's also just a question of like what equals quality of life for you?
yeah.
Being comfortable or looking cool. Like, you might have a different priority. You know what I mean?
Both.
Like, if it's your lifelong dream to drive
Comfortably.
that car, it might not matter if it's comfortable,
Yeah.
but like, yeah,
Yeah.
it at the end of the day, like same going back to the retirement conversation, it's like, what do
Yeah.
you actually need to have the quality of life you want? If you don't know how to answer that, you should start asking.
Yeah.
All right, we
But
got one left.
one left. Let's do this.
It is fear of failure. So it's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
on your
Yeah.
shoulders. And if your eBay business fails, you have no one else to blame.
Mhm.
Fear of losing everything, or maybe just the pressure and fear of running a business can take over. And this one's kind of funny in a way because I feel like the numbers don't lie, and I see the numbers are doing well. And I'm like, I don't know, are they really doing that well? Or like, could they be doing
because
better?
because now you gotta feel like you gotta compare yourself to another person exactly like you,
No,
Mm.
which
no,
is not possible.
no, yeah, exactly. Well, maybe I think I just feel like if maybe if I went this direction, it would be doing better. But
Yeah.
even though
Yeah.
it's already doing well here, so the constant thought of
It could always be better, right?
yeah, it could always be better in your
Yeah.
situation because we have so many different opportunities. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
So, is it scarier to think about being mediocre or being really successful and then losing your traction and never getting it back and just like spiraling downward? Or trying really, really hard and never being successful in the first place?
Ooh,
oh
that
man,
hurts.
all,
Trying
all
really,
three of
really
them hurt.
hard. Ah,
All three of them are awful,
Yeah,
I,
really.
I, I would be comfortable
even
if
comfortable
it's not
scary. Just kidding.
if it's not on my own doing. That it was just a matter of perfect, the perfect storm happens, and I lose it all. I would. It would be exciting for me. I get to do it again. but I get to do it
Yeah.
smarter this
I've
time.
thought about that with the prospect of selling my whole store. Like,
Right.
would I sell it and then not sell on eBay anymore? No, I would start
No. Like
from
I'll
one.
just
Like, I would
uh
start over.
yeah, I
Yeah.
would just start over and skip all the, you know how like when you play a game, right? And then there's levels to a game. And the game is, and you get to autosave every level 10, right? And then you die on the level 9. Yes, it hurts, but it's so much quicker to get to 9 again. So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I see it. But also, the fear of failure, I think a lot of the fear of failure is actually caring too much what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of what it boils down to. And I think because I was risky enough earlier in my life, I've eliminated that fear. That failing is part of trying so hard at something that not a lot of people has done, and you're the one that's showing them, oh, not this way. Oh, there's a hole here.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a wall here. And that's kind of like how I felt when I discovered Glen's YouTube channel. And I was like, oh, Ross. Oh, not a good Ross. Oh, a good Ross. And I was like, oh, that's it. You know, and if I ever do it again, I'll just watch the same thing again and do it again.
You'll stand
So
the test of time.
yeah, so I feel like that's kind of like how I see it. And again, going back to the fear, is just the fear is not about, you don't die when you lose a business here, technically, unless you jump off a plane because you lost it. You don't. Like, there's no physical ramification of actually losing a business. Besides, yes, heartache, and that's just you being too emotional and blaming other things and not having complete responsibility and accountability of your actions. So, worst case scenario is start over again. Get a job, get your finances back, drive for Uber, DoorDash, so many things now. Do a TikTok shop, or work for a, like, worst case scenario. This is me. Worst case scenario, if I lose everything, I'll be like, hey, Glenn, can I work for you? I'll be your live streamer.
See, there we
You know what
go.
I'm saying? Like, I
There's
just approach
options.
a stream. Huh?
There's options.
Yeah, I should just work for somebody
I
that's
thought you were
already
going to say
doing.
Sneakers Envy again.
Yeah, or we go live. That's kind of like that. I'll be his shipper. I'll be his driver. Like all that stuff. So that's kind of like, that's why you have to explore other opportunities where you can just make ends meet. And if you find that way that you can make ends meet, anything over will just push you forward, and anything less will just put you right where you were starting. So
Yeah. It also brings to mind the idea that people who are successful in business like know when to quit, they know when to pivot, they make quick decisions, quick assessments, right?
yeah,
And really what that can look like from the outside is like a lot of failure over failure over
yeah,
failure,
yeah, yeah.
start over. But really it's more like reiterate.
Yeah, redirect. Like,
Yeah.
let go of this plane, let go of that plane, let go of that. It's just like jumping from a different
It's
building.
just
That's
jumping from one building to the next building in the
yeah,
air, hurtling
yeah,
through the sky. It's
yeah,
fine. Don't
yeah.
worry about
It's
it.
fine. There's
No, but I do think that the more comfortable, not like desensitized or like
yes,
numb, but the more
no,
actually comfortable you are with failure, the more overall successful you're going to be.
yeah.
All right, I think it definitely makes sense. And oh man, the
So Glenn, what do you think?
You
Well,
ready to go fail?
You're ready to fail?
well, going back to Anna's first part, I also don't.
Inspired
Well,
to fail.
going to like
Which part?
spiraling down to nothing. Okay, that I don't like. But I
Oh yeah,
think
yeah.
No.
You
That
will
one
never
sounds
go to
awful.
nothing. That's one
Yeah.
thing. Especially you. You'll have your house.
true.
Worst
true.
case
Right.
scenario.
Yeah, you locked
Worst
that in
case
already.
scenario, you'll have your house.
Yeah.
But I think people also put this pressure on themselves to where like they feel like they have to do something forever when they don't.
yeah.
Oh,
So
100%.
like when football players retire and they don't really know what to do next,
Mm-hmm.
it's not that you're like a failure now because you had to
Yeah.
retire from the league.
Yeah.
It's just that maybe you got older, maybe you had an injury, maybe something happened,
Yeah.
and you're gonna find
Yeah.
another part of your life that you're going to
Yeah.
now move on from.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, that's
so-
what I told myself when I retired from football.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna go
Yeah,
into
yeah.
making a podcast for eBay.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. I mean, who knew?
No. I
So
agree on that
yeah, there's
concept.
nothing wrong with going into because you're growing. I mean, into something else, and you should be changing. You
Yeah.
Yeah.
can't play a sport forever, or you can't. I guess you can't have the same career forever, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
don't
can't.
do it just because
Unless
I
you're
need a
Vanna White,
check.
she
You
can
Yeah.
know?
have the same career forever. Well, also, like, going back to that idea of being comfortable with failure, I think something that is probably necessary for that is to not tie up your entire identity in what you do. Like,
Yeah.
it's way easier to shift to something else or to try a new career or to try a new skill or a new job or be interested even in something else when you're not like, I am a football player. That is who I am, period. End of story. It's
Mm,
like,
Yeah.
I'm a person first, and then I'm a great football player, and I'm capable of learning and doing other stuff and being interested in other stuff. Like, it's night and day difference if
Yeah.
you put all of your identity into your job or into your art or your,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
occupation, your
What
skills.
what I got from that is, like just my mind is like, don't let your career and what you do define who you are. Let yourself define what you do in the effort that you put in, right? Like I am Ken as a seller, I am Ken as an Instagrammer, I am Ken as a workout person. I am, like, but other people have kind of like got it backwards. Like I'm only known for this as a seller. Like that actually is not good because you're only known for what you do. You gotta be known for who you are,
Yeah,
not
like your
what you do.
character.
Yeah, so that's why I've always believed like worst case scenario, I can work and I can apply my never settle mentality on the next work that I do. And I feel like the shift of careers shouldn't be an embarrassment. It should be actually an adventure, and that's what I always see it.
yeah.
Like I have dreams sometimes that I work at a Nike outlet. I have dreams sometimes I work at Foot Locker. I mean,
It's just wishful
imagine all the
thinking.
knowledge that you have. I'm just gonna be like, let's go. Like think about all the advantages that you already have and have developed because you're a business owner, and apply it to somebody else's business. And also if you don't like pressure, then you'll shine there because there's no pressure to make money. There's just pressure
Yeah.
to do
Show up
creative
day in
work.
and day out.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's what I said. Like after I clocked out, the whole building work burns down. Not my problem.
I mean, that goes back to how these are so scary for full time resellers. And I do think not being full time does mitigate a lot of these, right? Because that just
Yes.
inherently
Hmm.
means the stakes are lower.
Yeah.
You're not depending on it as much. But for full time people, like that is a huge consideration. Like that, I know multiple other sellers that have been full time at times and went back into the kind of traditional workforce
Yeah.
for different periods of time because they didn't want that pressure on their store and they
Yeah.
needed a break from that pressure, and that's totally fine too. And even one or two that I know actually have done both at different times and kind of come and gone from being full-time sellers multiple times. Like you can do that,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
And
That's
I think
flexible in
that's
and of
I
itself.
think that's
Yeah.
the ultimate cheat code to actually have a business and have a full time income.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Jim.
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 It's you again.
True.
That's Jim's third reprisal this
I know.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is supposed
Um,
to be scary, not just a
yeah.
Jim
Now
show.
it turned into motivation,
I
inspiration.
know.
You got this moment. And that's kind of just the vibe. That's kind of like the flow that I am in personally. So I definitely like this.
Because your
I
sales are
definitely.
back up.
Wow, so shallow.
You're like, yeah, everything's going
Yes,
great.
I'm on green. No, no,
Yeah,
I'm not on green yet. I'm a little red,
it's okay.
not a big red, a little
Okay,
red.
A little red.
Yeah.
just a little.
Pink.
So, well, I
All
appreciate
right.
you. I appreciate the OG Hustler Hacks topic.
I know, it's so
Make
fun.
Yeah, and there's still part two.
Still
So
part
all
two
Yeah.
you guys
coming up.
listening, you better catch it. And if you guys have any interjections or any commentaries, send it on our DMs. Send it on our DMs because we'll answer it in the next show. So also, huge shout out to our sponsors for this podcast: eBay for sellers. eBay Open is coming up. We're gonna have a booth there, and sign up for either the virtual or the in-person event. There's still tickets. And also to Cello Ledger, huge shout out for Cello Ledger for organizing our books. Thank you all. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace.
See ya.
Goodbye.